Hi, I'm Carla with Race to Walk. Thanks for joining me. And today I'm going to be sharing with you my thoughts as a first-time reader of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. But before we get started, a little bit about this channel. Here we share good thoughts, spoken words, and on Fridays I host a live Bible study on Instagram at Race to Walk, and then I publish 2 videos a week. I publish a replay of that Bible study with some study aids as well as a video about books. So if you're interested in either of these things, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications for updates on new videos. Now, this is part of a series of videos that I'm doing as a first-time reader of the Harry Potter series, and I will link to the playlist if you'd like to watch the rest of them. And as I mentioned in the other videos, I never read Harry Potter until last summer. And that was because a friend of mine, Annie Crawford, was doing a read-through of the whole series with her church, with her Faith and Culture series. It was really fun. That's how I spent my summer of 2020, was reading Harry Potter for the first time. And it was really interesting because she was able to point out a lot of the classical elements in the series and the symbolism that I don't think I would have picked up on other than that as a first-time reader, not really having any familiarity with the series. If you're familiar with the book or watched one of the movies, you know the story. Harry is at Hogwarts. They're having a Triwizard Championship between different wizarding houses, and the Goblet of Fire refers to the way the champions from each of those houses is selected. And Harry shouldn't be selected. He's not old enough. He's not prepared. The other champions are chosen, but by unusual circumstances, Harry is chosen as a 4th champion. There are evil agendas going on underneath the surface. It's not quite clear who is behind them, and Voldemort is trying to get Harry so he can return to his physical form. That's the plot of the story in a nutshell, but I'm just going to highlight a few of the things that stood out to me in the story. Now, the magic in Harry Potter is really a symbol for the supernatural world, and there's a few people who operate in it, but the rest are completely unaware. And this book specifically is really about those worlds colliding. The book begins with a gardener stumbling across Voldemort plotting with one of his little minions. He overhears a conversation, but there are words in it that he doesn't even understand. I think this is true sometimes with us too. So there's a lot of people, and I'm talking about Christians, not just non-Christians, that even though we say we believe in a God who is unseen in spirit, and that we have a Bible full of accounts of this unseen world, we act like the Dursleys, like there's nothing else beyond what we see and what we know, and that what we're willing to accept. And this gardener is completely unaware of anything else. He doesn't know about wizards, he doesn't know about magic, he doesn't know about Voldemort. There's this whole thing that he's unaware of. He trips into this encounter that he's completely unequipped for. And I think often we're like that too. We don't acknowledge that there's something beyond us. We refuse to prepare for it. And so when we encounter it, we're at a loss. We don't know what to do. And you see that throughout the book, that the wizards and this magical world are very careful to keep things separate. But all throughout the book, there's this intermingling and colliding of these 2 different worlds. The story starts with Harry and the Weasleys going to this World Quidditch Cup, and I guess you would describe Quidditch as a game as sort of similar to flying soccer. The scene where they go to the World Quidditch Cup and the description of it, it was interesting to me because they're like completely obsessed with this game, completely obsessed. And I think this is probably a reflection of the UK's obsession with soccer, which they call football there, that Rowling is portraying. I mean, we are into sports, but they are literally crazy about their football. And I think this chapter on the World Quidditch Cup is a clear picture of that. But the theme that was illustrated at the World Quidditch Cup that you also see throughout the book is the difference between celebrity and the team. So at the World Quidditch Cup, there's 2 teams coming to play. One is from Ireland and the other is from Bulgaria. And Bulgaria has their star player. He's just absolutely amazing. But what you see is that the Irish team they play as a team. She writes, Harry knew enough about Quidditch to see that the Irish chasers were superb. They worked as a seamless team, their movements so well coordinated that they appeared to be reading one another's minds as they position themselves. Even though the Bulgarian team had this amazing player, Victor Krum, the Irish team was still beating them. So in Quidditch, like in soccer, you are trying to score goals, but there's also an option for ending the game by catching what is called a golden snitch. So it's this little flying ball that flies around, and each team has what they call a seeker. And if the seeker catches a snitch, the team gets 150 points and the game's over. The Irish team was beating the Bulgarians. Victor sees the snitch, he catches it, and he ends the game, even though his team was still behind and they lost. Ron asked, "What did he catch the snitch for?" Ron bellowed, even as he jumped up and down, applauding with his hands over his head. "He ended it when Ireland were 160 points ahead. The idiot." "He knew what they were never going to catch up," Harry shouted back over all the noise, also applauding loudly. "The Irish chasers were too good. He wanted to end it on his own terms, that's all." Victor wasn't for the team, he was for glory for himself. And even though the best of the Irish team was not as good as he was, they still won because they worked as a team. And that's not only a continuing theme that you see throughout this book, but also through the series as a whole. When Harry gets to the Triwizard Tournament, he doesn't get there all on his own ingenuity, understanding, and skill. He has people helping him out. And at the very end, when he's facing Voldemort, he doesn't come through on his own. Part of the reason that he made it back was because of a sacrifice of another person and from help from other unexpected sources. And the third theme in the book is one about belonging. In the opening scene of the book, when Voldemort is talking to his follower Wormtail. I always want to say Wormtongue, but that's Lord of the Rings. So Voldemort and Wormtail are having a discussion about capturing Harry Potter. And Wormtail is wanting to do something else, and he says, "Lord, it makes sense," said Wormtail, sounding thoroughly relieved now. "Laying hands on Harry Potter would be so difficult. He is so well protected. And so you volunteer to go and fetch me a substitute? I wonder. Perhaps the task of nursing me has become wearisome for you, Wormtail. Could this suggestion of abandoning the plan be nothing more than an attempt to desert me? My lord, I have no wish to leave you, none at all." "Do not lie to me," hissed the second voice. "I can always tell, Wormtail. You are regretting that you ever returned to me. I revolt you. I see you flinch when you look at me. Feel you shudder when you touch me. Know my devotion to your lordship. Your devotion is nothing more than cowardice. You would not be here if you had anywhere else to go." Wormtail thinks that he belongs nowhere else, that there's no acceptance for him anywhere else. And so he continues on the path that he's on. You see later on in Draco Malfoy, his family identity and position is grounded in their allegiance to Voldemort. And that, I think, guides a lot of his actions. And then in the end, when we discover who the villain is, we see that his motivation is really all about a sense of belonging and identity too, because his father hadn't accepted him, but he was accepted and valued by Voldemort, and that really fueled a lot of his actions. So we see that sometimes people's motivations are complicated, that sometimes they do the things that they're doing because they feel like they've made bad choices and there's no way to turn around, no way out. And so they continue on the path that they've always gone. There are people who make a change, right? The wizards that follow Voldemort are known as Death Eaters, and Voldemort has been gone for 13 years. And so the Death Eaters have been almost kind of play acting in evil. They don't have a master that has been telling them what to do. They haven't been held accountable, and so they just kind of do whatever it is that they want to do. They've never repented. They never turned from that formal allegiance. And then Voldemort returns, and it's time to pay the piper. And most of them, rather than being glad, are actually afraid. And they don't go because they want to and they're glad he's back, but they're afraid of the repercussions. Now, there are a few people in this series that were former followers of Voldemort who repent. They turn a new leaf, and it's actually harder for them. But in the end, the very end of the series, we see that these people who have gone off the path, recognized it, and turn around end up being one of the real heroes, even equal to Dumbledore, who never fell off the path at all. But it's not easy to do that. I won't read the name just in case you haven't read it, I don't want it to be a spoiler, but Voldemort kills someone. And at the end of the book, they are remembering this person that died. Dumbledore is opening the door to this fellowship with Hogwarts with whoever wants to be. It's a moment of decision about which side that they're going to be on. He said, every guest in this hall, said Dumbledore, his eyes lingered upon the Durmstrang students, will be welcome back here at any time should they wish to come. I say to you all once again, in light of Lord Voldemort's return, we are only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided. Lord Voldemort's great for spreading discord and enmity is very great. We can fight it only by showing an equally strong bond of friendship and trust. Differences of habit and language are nothing at all if our aims are identical and our hearts are open. It is my belief, and never have I so hoped that I am mistaken, that we are all facing dark and difficult times. Some of you in this hall have already suffered directly at the hands of Lord Voldemort. Many of your families have been torn asunder. A week ago, a student was taken from our midst. Remember, the student. Remember, if the time should come when you have to make a choice between what is right and what is easy, remember what happened to a boy who was good and kind and brave because he strayed across the path of Lord Voldemort. Remember. This is fiction, but that is such a true message, that we're only as strong as we are united. And most of the time, the easy decision isn't the right one. And so we have to choose who we're going to be and who we're going to belong to. Because the more wrong choices that we make, the harder it is to break free of those choices and turn around. But anyway, those are my thoughts as a first-time reader of The Goblet of Fire. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.